Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. If you are trying to evaluate whether real estate is the right career for you, wondering whether you are doing the right things to launch into quick success, or looking for tips and tools you can use today to become a more productive agent, this is your podcast. Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. This is season 4. Learning from legends. And I am so excited for our guest today. We have, I think, a true legend in real estate with us, Brett Jennings. And if you don't know Brett, you're going to learn a lot about him today and his business. He is an inspiration. I have watched Brett speak at events, learned a lot from you. I've done some research and read about you, and I'm excited to share the goal that you hit and surpassed with our audience so that they can get inspired by what you have done. Brett is the owner and founder of Real Estate Experts, serving the San Francisco Bay Area and Silicon Valley. He is an award-winning luxury home marketing specialist. You hold a certificate in negotiation from Harvard Law, I read, Brett. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And he is author of the book, The New Rise in Real Estate. I also read that you teach meditation, which does not surprise me, that you wakeboard, run, hike, mountain bike, snowboard. Super impressive. You do all the things. It's like good balanced life. So very excited to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us, Brett.
Thank you. Happy and excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait for our audience to hear about all of the shares that you have. And I was saying to Brett before we started, I don't even know if we're going to get it all in this episode, but I'm going to do my best. So Brett, in 2021, you set a big, hairy, audacious goal, which you've read the book, Good to Great, the BHAG, as we call it, of hitting 1 billion in sales. And you did it. I can't wait for us to hear about how you did that and to hear about your industry insights. So let's start, first of all, with your background. What led you to get into real estate to begin with?
Oh, boy. Like many, real estate was kind of a plan B for me. I shouldn't say that. I should say being a real estate agent and being, a realtor was a plan B for me. I owned a few different businesses before real estate. So coming out of college, I had the good fortune and opportunity to work for Tony Robbins for 2 years. Had a great experience there, left working for him. So I started a business in college and then went work for him. And then after college, started a financial services company. And that did pretty well. And we ended up evolving into a company that was forming corporations and limited liability companies, mostly for real estate investors. So what I noticed from that business, right, was I saw the average profile of my clients after we had about 300 clients. That person in their mid 50s owned like 10 to 20 rentals, had, multiple 5-figure income coming in monthly, a multiple 7-figure net worth. And these were like normal people, they just had been disciplined about buying property every year. And I'm like, okay, I want to focus on real estate. So I sold that business in 2007, and then didn't make enough money to retire on. My wife was pregnant with our first, and she's tapping her toe saying, okay, what's next? And I thought, I do want to go into real estate, but I don't want to be a realtor. I had just my general perceptions of realtors wasn't great. I think I'd only worked in investing. I'd worked with maybe 1 or 2 agents, but I was like, my perception of realtors was like that show Modern Family, Phil Dunphy, the guy on the show. With
the bus bench ads.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if I want to be that guy. So actually what ended up happening, so I got into mortgage, and I started on the mortgage side of the business in 2007. And my mentor at the time said, here's what I want you to do. If you're going to be good in the mortgage business, you need to go interview to get business from top realtors, because the purchase business is the only thing that will be consistent. Your business is going to go up and down with interest rates. You need to rub elbows with these top realtors. Here's the list of the top 100. And so it took me 2.5 months, but I met with 42 of the top 100 realtors in the county. And that kind of changed my perception. So I realized, wow, these like top agents, they were actually pretty cool people. They were smart. They had good lifestyle. I was like, maybe I could be an agent. And as chance would have it, I'm a month or two into the mortgage business, and Bear Stearns collapses.
Mm.
And my wife's 8.5 months pregnant, and as a new loan officer, you could not get loans done. And I was like, okay, what's my next move? And one of the top agents I was working with said, hey, I like you. You're sharp. You're smart. You'd actually be really good. Why don't you join my team? And as Tony Robbins talks about, success leaves clues. Modeling is the fastest path to success. I thought rather than be a solo agent and knock out, one or two or three deals my first year in a challenging market, I'd rather surf in the wake of a really experienced team leader and get more experience. And I did. I did 12 transactions my first year, and he left the business the second year, and then kind of forced me, into my out on my own, which I was ready for. And I just put my head down and did 36 transactions my second year. And about my fourth year in the business in 2011, started building a real estate team, and before teams were really a thing. So.
Yeah, you were at the cutting edge of teams for sure. I want to ask you about when you said I put my head down and just
Yeah.
decided to do it. What did that look like?
Really, and it's one of the things that we train on today when we look to go to get agents into production or take an experienced agent to that next level of production is really you can't manage time. All you can really do is manage focus, right? We all have the same amount of time. It's how we manage our focus, and this business is extremely easy to get distracted. There's lots of shiny objects. If you're a realtor, you probably get called 3 times a week. Somebody's trying to pitch you on, hey, here's the next best lead generation thing, and it's a lot of noise. And so for me, it was really prospecting and lead follow-up and being super disciplined about those. I time blocked. I put in 9 a.m. to noon, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 4 to 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that was not easy. I had a new baby at home, so I'd go home, eat dinner, go back to the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My goal was to book at least 4 appointments in that, 15 hours of prospecting. If I didn't, then from 9 a.m. to noon before my open house, I'd jump on the phones and see if I could get that 4th appointment. I knew that if I booked 4 appointments a week, I would meet with 3 people. And if I met with 3 people a week, I would do 36 transactions a year. And it just became, very predictable because this business is simple. I like to say the path is in the math. And so the path is math. You just need to back into, okay, if the average database converts at now 4%, used to be 6% from quality leads or quality sphere of influence, how many contacts do I need to have? And if I have that, how many people do I got to talk to get an appointment that's interested in buying or selling, and just go from there. So it was just being really disciplined about my time. And that was what we now structure as what we call our perfect week for our agents when they come into our world. We're like, hey, we're not top down dictating that you have to do this. We're just saying that this is very predictable if you set your business up like this. The other principle too, though, I think that one of my mentors early on shared with me, Gino Blafari, who now runs Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And I taped it at the bottom of my computer screen. So it was there for 7 years. So it's like emblazoned in my mind. And his quote was, the most successful realtors do their prospecting early in the day. Mm. And, the thing is everyone has resistance to, or call reluctance, some resistance to prospecting. I'm like, do I still love to do it? No. Do I do it? Yeah. But if you let it, float to the back half of your day, it's easy to continue to push it to the end of the day and it never gets done. But if you tackle it up front, the rest of your day can go completely sideways and you got done what you needed to do to drive your business forward that day. So, that's really one of the foundational pieces, I think. And for if any of the agents listening, struggle with that, as most do, there's a phenomenal book out there called Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt that I would recommend reading. I call it like a vaccine for a crappy mindset, because he takes you on a tour of all the different things you might be thinking about that create resistance for you. in, doing what you need to do to pick up the phone, or whether it's DMing people. But, DMing, you don't always have to pick up the phone, but you got to get those two-way conversations going. And phenomenal book, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt.
Great suggestion. Man, so much. You are dropping gold, Brett, like already so many. I'm writing things down. This is amazing. All right. So you're 2011, you've been solo for a couple of years, and now you're like maybe a team. Now, was this something that was part of your vision that you were working toward as you were like, being disciplined and working on that goal? What was that?
Yeah.
What the big goal was, and how did the team become a piece of it?
That's a great question. In essence, I mean, I think, all really good entrepreneurs are always trying to do two things, like how to add value and how to find the way. Like, how do I find the path forward and how do I add value? One of my mentors early on told me, he said, Brett, don't focus on making money. Like, money's just a scoreboard for the value you bring. If you focus on money and you focus on delivering more value, as much value as possible to every person that you interact with, the money will take care of itself, because money is just a scoreboard for the value you bring. And so in 2008, that meant, it was a tough market. You were either going to do short sales or foreclosures. Those were the two major groups of people that were needing help. And so most of those people, on both of them, they didn't want to move. They didn't want to sell their houses. And a lot of agents were out there, hey, knocking on doors. I saw that you got a notice of default. We can help you sell your house and avoid foreclosure. They didn't want that. They wanted a loan modification. So, I knew that only 20% of loan modifications would get approved. So even if, you did everything right, that was just the way the numbers work. So I said, well, let's do this. Let's reach out to add value to help these people get a loan modification if they can. And if they can't, well, then we've become kind of a trusted advisor, and we'll help them with a dignified exit, maybe get a settlement from the bank to help them get some money to move into the next place. And that worked out well for us. We did a few hundred transactions, a few hundred short sales a year, going from like 2008, 9, 10. But what led it to the real estate team was recognizing that this was a window of opportunity. The market would come back. And boy, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to start doing retail business again. And being an entrepreneur, and I like to create success in and with other people. It's success by myself is good, but it's kind of boring, honestly. And it's funner to take people along with us on the ride. So, real estate teams were just kind of loosely out there. I started my real estate team at a regional brokerage, and I remember being the black sheep. They're like, what's this guy doing to his team? He's got these like 4 or 5 agents, and they're doing all these lead things and with leads. And it was interesting. But what really, put us on the map, I think at that time, was probably my second year in team building. I coached with Jake Hinder and Michael Reese. They had an organization called the NAEA. And probably my biggest aha about 3 years into building a team was learning the principle that success isn't just about doing the right things. It's doing the right things in the right order. And what I mean by that is this, like my first few years of building the business, I was going, every 8 top agent panel, educational thing. I'd go to all these things and feverishly take notes. And I'd come back to my assistant. I'm sure she hated it when I came back from a conference or something, right? Because I had 100 ideas that I wanted to implement. Let's do all this, right? And we really, we make progress because we were always constantly improving, but we were making incremental progress, not really exponential progress, because we were doing the right things, but not in the right order. So the biggest aha was once, and this probably applies to anybody, once you do start building a real estate team, when it goes beyond you and an assistant, is to start to develop a vision and a strategic plan. And there's a great book out there called EOS, called Traction, which lays out the framework for really how to create a vision for your company, get clear on what the mission is, the vision, the values. And the one thing you asked at the beginning of this, we didn't actually set the goal in 2021. I think it was 2015 or 2016 when we did this process, right? Where I had to fill out this one-page business plan. And one of the things is, what's the 10-year vision? And I was like, 10 years? I don't even know if I want to be in real estate in 10 years, right? So, but I got to fill in the box. So I don't know, like $1 billion sounds cool. Let's shoot for $1 billion. and lo and behold, because when you do the right things in the right order, you do make progress faster than you would think. People people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in 5 years. So, on our 10-year vision, we had $1 billion, and we just, started focusing on this plan, doing the right things in the right order. And at the 3-year mark, it's like, oh, wow, you know what? We could potentially hit this. And then 2020 came along, and I think we were at 400 million. And then 2021 came along, and we had a 3x year and went from 400 million to $1 billion in 1 year. So never underestimate, what you can accomplish on that long time horizon. But the power of vision is really that process of creating the future in advance is what really did it. And I think one of my mentors shared this one thought, and that is, average people look out onto the world and they describe what they see. Oh, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening. He said elite performers take the time to go inside and describe what they want to see, and then externally they start to see what they've described.
So powerful. Projecting what you want into the world. Let me ask you, from a fundamental standpoint, back in 2015, when you originated that goal, do you remember what your production was then?
My direction, meaning
your production, like what was your number in 2015?
I can actually,
I
hit my first million in GCI in 2011. Okay. And at that time, the average price point was about 500,000. So we did about 80 units. Okay. But then I got stuck there for 4 years, and which couldn't break past that plateau. And it actually wasn't. So it was right around, we were doing 40 million, 50 million, 40 million. And it wasn't until 2014 when I first did that strategic plan and started getting clear about a long-term vision, and then how do we prioritize to do the right things in the right order. And that was when we started having leap years. That was the breakthrough. It went from 40 million to 80 million, from 80 to 160, 160 to 400, and then 160 to 240, 240 to 400, and then 400 to 1.2. So
incredible.
Yeah.
And you have a tool called Roadmap to $1 billion. And I think it's a great way of helping people understand. That's why I wanted to take you back to where you were. And I love the fact that you didn't plateau for that time period, because I think that happens to a lot of people, and getting the clarity of a roadmap that is available is really fundamentally critical for that kind of a progress. What would you say to someone feeling like, they're hearing these numbers, and maybe they're even hearing like that 1 million in GCI and going, that's way beyond anything I think I could ever do myself. But back in their mind somewhere, they're like, but I really want to, but I think I have it in me. What do you say to that person?
Gary Keller was one of my early mentors for a period of time, and he was a great mentor. And in his book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, he talks about the stages that you have to go through. So the first thing you got to do is at least think, right? Start to think, wow, could I do $1 million? What would it be like to do, to make $1 million in GCI? And so that's the first stage of the journey. You just have to think it, and then you start to uncover what your limiting beliefs are, right? Those are those things that say, oh, no, you can't, because you want to take all those becauses and let them go and really just start moving in the direction of it. But most importantly, get in the thought sphere and presence of people who are doing it. Because one of the things to get to that, probably one of the biggest things that helped me create these leap years, really, was in California where I was, nobody was selling more than like 30 or 40 houses a year. Like that was like big business, you know? And so I joined a mastermind and I was getting together with team leaders who were selling 300, 400, 500 houses a year. And we'd hang out for 2 or 3 days at these masterminds, and you get to become friends with these people. And then you recognize, you know what? You're like, Meredith is smart, but she's not really any smarter than I am. I mean, and I can do what she does. And it invokes what I call, and that really is the power of mastermind, invokes what I call the power of borrowed belief. Okay. Because your ability to hit a goal, we all talk, you know, we all hear about, you know, it's power, set a goal and believe in it and you can make it happen. But what happens is what gets in the way is these limiting beliefs. And this is where effort shows up, because effort, if you know you can do it, it's actually relatively effortless. You still need to take the actions. Like, for example, Meredith, I've told you, if I asked you, Meredith, are you going to be able to make $100,000 this year? And what would you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I say, well, do you believe that or do you know that?
I mean, both. I know it and I believe it.
Yeah, but you know it, right? It's like, yeah. I know it without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you get to the threshold of your belief system and you get to that place where I think I can, I'm not quite sure, okay? That's where effort shows up. Effort exists in the gap between belief and knowing. If you know you can do it, you're going to take the actions and it's effortless and it happens. If you don't know that you can do it and you believe you can do it, that's where, you know, your effort, and that's where effort comes in. That's where you push, the struggle, the grind gets in. But if you can get yourself in the thought sphere and energy sphere of people who are producing at that level, you can have what I call that borrowed belief, where you get in a relationship with those people and you're like, you know what, I can do this. And that's really where we saw growth by leaps and bounds. Get in the space of people who are doing 10 times the amount of business that you are. Get in those rooms and spend time there, and that's what will happen. So.
And how do people do that? Yes, that was a beautiful answer. Thank you. And how do people do that who are maybe starting out, maybe they're solo agents, or maybe for years, I was very just, kind of like with my little local market of agents, and I would go to networking events and learn some things. But for me, like you, my growth exploded when I started to mastermind and be in conversation and in rooms with people from all over the country and the world who were doing things that I either at a higher level than I was, that I hadn't ever even been exposed to before or dreamt of, or just doing things in a different way that opened my mind up to possibilities that weren't there before. So how do people find that if they don't know how to access it right now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it starts with a mentor and a coach, and if that mentor could be a team leader, that mentor could be a broker, it could be somebody in your local market, it could be a paid relationship. Honestly, probably the best growth I had were actually paid masterminds. I've participated and attended in many free masterminds, but the paid masterminds, I think everybody brought a little bit more intention to the community, because boy, if I'm spending whatever, 15 grand a year to be part of this, like I'm going to get the most out of it and I'm going to bring the most, because that was the spirit of it. But I think it's to find mentor, somebody, again, the value of a mentor. So the difference between a mentor and a coach, a mentor embodies the attributes and they're doing what you aspire to do. A coach may or may not have done that, but the coach is that third party that's going to look over your shoulder, let you know tactically what are the things that you need to do that you're not doing, or stop doing the things that aren't good, and they help you see your blind spots. But finding a good mentor, again, it helps you kind of get in the thought sphere, energy sphere of that. And that could be it could be joining a top team. If you're, at a lower level of production, if you run a small team, then it's again, getting in the room with people. And those things exist in most coaching programs like Tom Ferry. I've coached with Tom Ferry. I've coached with NAEA. I've coached with John Sheplack. And I never begrudge the money that I've invested in coaching and development. I've probably spent $500,000 over, the last 10 years on coaching and development, but it's made me millions and millions and millions of dollars on the other side of it.
Totally agree.
So I think, Yeah, but then beyond that, then you find a coach, find a mentor, and find a roadmap. You mentioned if you want to give me screen sharing privileges, I can pull up just a quick
Yes.
glimpse of what we call the seven stages of a real estate business. And let's see
Ooh,
here.
I can't wait to share this with everybody. This is awesome. Okay, let me give you, why can't I? There we go. All right.
Okay,
Live
here.
recording. You guys will see. All right.
Okay, here we go. So 7 stages of real estate business. So this is a roadmap that I was personally coached to, and I've traveled this whole journey myself, and I've coached many people to this as well. And after Meredith, I can send this to you. So after the call, if people want a copy of this, they certainly can
Thank you.
have a copy. Interestingly enough, the path to $1 million in GCI or gross commission income is pretty much the same as the path to $1 billion. We're instead of focusing on listings, we're focusing on, getting agents. So, more listings will always solve any problem in your real estate business or team. When you start to go from a team to a brokerage or in that space, then it's more agents, more quality agents. But this is the roadmap for an agent moving to $1 million. In 2021, I had a goal to help 5 agents make $1 million. I helped 9 agents make their first $1 million. But what this does is it articulates kind of where you are at whatever level of production. Now, depending on where you are in the country, the commission levels and the sales volume might change. Also with the number of units, because this is calibrated to our market, but the principles are going to be the same. When you very first start out in real estate, if you're brand new, your experience is I got into real estate, but no one really showed me how to make money. I'm not sure exactly what to do to find clients, questioning if this is in fact the right business to be in. And that's typically when people are from 0 to 8 transactions. Their average net take home is somewhere between 50 to 70%, but depending if they're on a team or if they're an independent, an independent agent model. The leverage point. So this is the cool thing about this model. The leverage point is what is the thing that you need to focus on to get to the next level? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you're brand new, you really want to master sphere of influence and open houses. Those are going to be, your main things. Your goal at that level is to get your sphere of influence into a CRM and start marketing to them, establish your knowledge and expertise in the market, get clarity, get over your fear of making calls and prospecting, and start working open houses to find qualified buyers. My guess is if we have people, where I find the majority of agents who have been in business and they're trying to get to that next level, a lot of people get stuck at these 2 stages, the grower and the hustler. For example, the grower stage between that 17 and 24 transactions, that one says, I'm good at getting clients to work with me, but I can't seem to get off the roller coaster of having a good month and then a bad month. I need more listings for all these buyers I have. And so really at that stage, what you want to focus on is leveraging administrative support, right? Getting all the busy work off of your plate. So if once you get to about that 20 transaction level, a personal assistant is going to be key, because 80% of real estate is $20 to $25 an hour work, right? But if you, and that was one of the things my mentor in my second year of business said, and I remember it. So like I have this audiographic memory. Somebody will say something to me, and I remember word for word what they said. And he said, Brett, the problem with most real estate agents is they suffer from EID. And I'm like, EID, what's that? He says, that's entrepreneurial idiot disease. He says, because 80% of real estate is $20 an hour work. And, when they start going, like, oh, I got to do it all. I got to coordinate the file, and I got to put the signs on and the flyers and the lock boxes. And he goes, but if you relegate yourself to doing all that, you only have 20% of your time to really make this good money. And so at that stage of growth, when you start getting between 15 and 20 transactions, you got to start looking at, having an admin. And there are lower cost options like a virtual assistant, but you do have to take the time to train them. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, the goal at that stage is to leverage the administrative team, regain time so you can focus more time on prospecting for sellers. You really have to start shifting your focus on sellers and starting a farm. Don't get comfortable. Most agents slow down here and never realize their full potential. Set a goal to generate 2 listings a month by prospecting and farming. And so that's what will take you to the next level, because really shifting the focus to listings at this stage of your business is critical, because it becomes the foundation for all the other higher levels. But
Mhm.
so this is just the whole journey. So as I share this, people can we'll share this at the end of the at the end of the call, and people
Fantastic.
can get a copy of it. But if you have questions, they can reach out. And we train on this. This is kind of the central theme of our business and helping agents kind of go and grow to that next level.
Which has obviously been incredibly successful. That is amazing. When was this always like in you, this desire to help others reach
Yeah.
potential, or was this something you discovered along the way in your journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a multi-layered answer. Um, in college, as an elective, my senior year, I took a meditation class on a whim, right? I was like, well, I got to take an elective. What am I going to take? Swimming? Oh, I'll take meditation. I hadn't heard about it. We had to meditate 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 12 weeks. That class changed my life. Like Jesus didn't appear, Buddha didn't appear, but I had started a business in college, and everything I was doing, like my grades got better, my relationships got better. Uh, Everything was flowing, and it was just like, I'm like, I don't know what this is, but there's something here. And whatever, I'm the kind of person, if a little bit of something's good, more is better. So after I graduated, I sold the business I started, and then I just went on a journey. I went to India for a while, I went to Japan. So I meditated with the yogis and the swamis down in India and the Buddhist monks in Japan. And I came back and spent a year working with Deepak Chopra, and learned his meditation practice and how to teach it to other people. But once you touch into and tap into what unlimited potential feels like the natural impulse was to share it. So after that, I spent the time working with Tony Robbins, and then helping coach people for 2 years. I was like, okay, I really love this space. I love coaching. At the time, um, coaching wasn't going to be probably a big enough income to support me in a high cost of living area like I live. I had one kid, one on the way. And so I thought, well, why don't I make my real estate business kind of a space or a place where I can do the coaching work I want to, and I can probably get paid better than I would as a coach. So that's how it all came about.
Very cool. That's an amazing story. You've had some incredible experiences. I want to ask you a lot more about that. We're going to have like a whole other podcast about this mindset, because I'm so fascinated by it and starting to discover some of that myself. Let me ask you about a piece I saw that you had contributed to, an Inman article, where you suggested, or you talked about, I guess, a planning exercise, which was writing your own eulogy. Something that you suggest anyone do at any stage of their career, or is that something that's useful at a particular point?
No, that's a great question. Your questions today, Meredith, have been awesome, in the sense that it's drawing forward kind of the best of what I feel has really helped me go to that next level. So I think I mentioned in 2012, maybe 2013, I landed on this one-page strategic plan. Learn the principle of doing the right things in the right order. And I'm just hacking my way, doing this stuff, started to build the team, and we were chugging along, but I something wasn't totally aligned. And so a friend of mine who was actually in my mastermind group, he had gone through a training, coaching training for a book called The E-Myth. If you haven't ever read The E-Myth as a small business owner, it's a simple read. It's probably 150 pages. It starts out of a story of a small business owner who, that goes from what they call the entrepreneur. He owns a bakery, right? And he's the baker. And then he starts a business and realizes, shoot, I'm not great at accounting and I'm not great at management. I'm a great baker, but I own this company. So great book. So he says, hey, I've been certified in the coaching for this. Come on out. So I flew out to Charlotte with about 15 other team leaders, and we went through. And this process, the first part of it, we did this exercise, and it was called your why. And your why was, getting to the core and the root of why you do what you do in your business. And it started with this eulogy exercise. I'm like, eulogy? He's like, yeah. So we're going to take a half an hour. You guys can go in different corners of the hotel or the room or whatever, but we're going to circle back. but I want you to write your eulogy. Like, think about it for real. If you passed away tomorrow, and you're floating around as this spirit in the back of the church, synagogue, whatever, who's there? What are they saying about you? And I took this experience to heart. I went in, and I got some beating, some tears came, like when I'm writing this thing, and I realized, wow. And then he says, okay, now circle the words that keep coming up as like the common threads. And I realized, wow, like, okay, it's live, love, learn, grow, help other people do the same. And the second question is really what put the power into that business plan. And that's really, I think, where we went from growth that was like this to hockey stick. And the second question is, if that's who you really are, that's your purpose, right? Live, love, learn, grow, help other people do the same. What does your business look like if you brought all of who you are to everything you do? Okay. And you'd ask me, Meredith, like what? And I always had this desire to help people and do the coaching stuff. I did, but it wasn't at the center of my business. At that time, I was building a business, honestly, so that I could sell real estate, sell houses, take my money, buy investment property, get to the point where I had enough passive income coming in where I could kind of walk away from real estate sales and then focus on coaching. Okay. And after I asked that question, what does my business look like if I brought all who I am to everything I do, help other people live, love, learn, grow, help other people do the same? My business would really, like, coaching would be at the core. And my coach was like, why aren't you doing that? I'm like, because I don't have agents that really are that passionate about growth, that really want to be coached. And next thing you know, I was on that. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina for that trip. On my flight home, I get a phone call. It's one of the agents on my team saying, hey, Brett, it's been good working together, but I think I'm going to go a different direction. And he wasn't a great producer and he wasn't a great guy. So I was like, oh, that's fine. But then I got home Monday and another guy walks into my office and says, hey, Brett, we got to talk. Okay. And Dave was a good producer and a good guy. And he said, hey, well, I've been thinking, and Steven, the other gentleman who left, and I are going to, get a website together, and we're going to do some of these online ads and generate some leads. And we think we're just going to do what you do. Well, we don't need to work for you. I was like, okay. And so it was as if God said, hey, there's this nice sandcastle. Let me knock this down for you so you can have a clean slate to start over. And within a week, I got a phone call from a good friend of mine. Actually, it was the best man at my wedding. That was living in Seattle at the time, and it started in real estate. He'd been at Keller Williams for 6 months. And I told him to go work on a real estate team up there. He did. He started to get some momentum. And he said, my wife, her dad's got cancer, and his dad lives in your town, Brett, in San Jose. So she and I are going to basically come live there for 6 months. Can I work on your team and shadow from you and learn from you? And I said, sure. And so he showed up, and a week later, another guy that I'd known for 7 years said, hey, I've been watching you for the last, we got started about the same time, and you keep getting better every year. And I'm coming off a divorce, and I want to be a better dad, and I want to build a better business, and I think you can help me get there. And so naturally, when you put purpose, like you lock in on what your core purpose is, you will start to attract the people, situations, experiences, resources that will bring that vision to life. So super powerful exercise and recommend doing it. It is a game changer for sure.
It sounds like it. Yeah, it's amazing hearing the story of how that worked for you, and also how the alignment and what then you were projecting into the world created this new reality for you that has just completely, obviously, taken off like a rocket and sustained ever since. Wow, such good stuff, Brett. I'm just blown away by so much of what you said. I'm going to have to go back and listen. I rarely go back and listen more than a couple times on my podcast, but this one I'm going to listen to over and over again. I cannot thank you enough for everything you've shared with us. You are incredible, evolved, inspirational, all the things. I mean, it's just been a total delight having you on the show. I'm so grateful. Now,
I'm happy to share. This is kind of, obviously, I get excited talking about this because this is what I love helping people do.
You're so generous about it. It's just, it's evident. why you are who you are and where you are in the world because of all that you give. So thank you. Now, if people want to find you to learn more about how you do business, to work with you or your team, or to find out about joining your team, how can they find you?
Yeah, so we host a blog where we conduct a lot of training and put a lot of content out there, and that is at bearealexpert.com. So it's beareal expert.com. And there you can kind of connect with us, follow. If you subscribe there, you'll get announcements for some of our live top agent panels that we do on the monthly basis and such. And if you have anybody in the San Francisco Bay Area, San Jose, Silicon Valley that needs help buying or selling, we just crossed our threshold of over 1,000 5-star reviews on Zillow. Proud to say that we passed that milestone. So we will promise to take very, very good care of them. And so you can find our company at therealexperts.com. And that's where they can reach us. And, my phone and email are right there on the site. So I'm happy to help any clients that you need, or if, you're stuck in your business, I do allocate a certain amount of time to help people, with that breakthrough. So if you send me an email with a question or two, I can probably respond.
No, and you will get more than you think you will, obviously. So that's awesome. Thank you, Brett. Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and I would say take advantage of that. What's interesting is having been, been built my business to become a top agent, and you stand on stages and platforms, and you offer the opportunity to be of value to help people. It's remarkable how few people actually do reach out. But I was one of those guys who did, so I told early in my story, I called the 100 top agents, and I met with 42 of them. You will find most top producers are very generous with their time when it comes to helping somebody who's sincere and their desire to go to the next level, because that's how they got there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. I want to take a moment to thank the sponsors who make this show possible: the Rozek team with Embrace Mortgage, Paul Harsani with First National Bank, Village Settlements, and Peak Settlements. Please consider supporting the sponsors who support us and our industry. And please connect with us and with Brett and his team on social media. Feel free to ask us a question, leave us a suggestion or a comment. And if you will take the time to leave us a review or rating on the platform on which you listen, we would be so grateful. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time. We are so grateful you joined us today. If you've benefited from the advice we share on the show, we hope you'll tune in to our next episode. Interested in learning more about my personal mentoring programs, our Career Kickstart course, or to pick up a copy of my book, Farming for Real Estate Agents, your step-by-step guide for becoming the go-to agent in your local market? Visit www.meredithfogel.com and click the Resources tab. If you are curious about becoming part of the List Realty family of agents, go to the www.thelistrealty.com website and click Careers from the About Us page, or find me at the Meredith Fogel team on social media. Thank you for listening. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time.